Hi, I'm Sue Jackson from the Book by Book blog here with another Friday Reads. So this is going to be a little tricky because I only just started my latest book last night, so I don't know a lot about it yet. Since it's September and yesterday I just finished the book I had to read for book group, which by the way was excellent, The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. I am just now starting out on my favorite challenge of the year, the R.I.P. challenge for fall, Readers Imbibing Peril. You can find it all over the place online with the hashtag RIPXVI because it's the 16th year of the challenge. But the idea is very simple and you don't need to sign up or anything. You just read darker stuff during the fall, which I love. My husband reads almost exclusively mysteries and thrillers and things like that. So our bookshelves are loaded with those kinds of books that I feel like I never have time to fit all of them in. And I still won't, of course. It's only 2 months. But I did pick out a big stack last night from my bookshelf. Way more than I will be able to finish by the end of October, but it's a hopeful stack. There are just so many thrillers and mysteries, and I've even got a couple of ghost stories in there. So I'm really looking forward to this challenge. So the first book I picked up last night, we have several Ruth Ware novels that I haven't read yet. My husband's gotten way ahead of me on that. We both read In the Woods and The Woman in Cabin 10. And then I kept getting them for him as gifts. And like I said, I feel like I never have time to fit them all in. So I started Ruth Ware's The Lying Game last night. I am only 20 pages in, so I don't know a lot about it yet. I will read you the one line from the back. 17 years ago, 4 schoolmates made a promise to keep a deadly secret. But now the truth is coming out. Ooh, sounds perfect for fall, right? I have found out in the first 20 pages what the title The Lying Game is all about. When these 4 women were in high school together, it takes place in England, so whatever they call high school, they played this game called The Lying Game together. And the idea was just to try to get away with outrageous lies. And they had this elaborate point scoring system for convincing someone your lie was the truth. For the more outrageous lie, the better. If somebody didn't believe you at first, but you convinced them, you get extra points for that. So, these 4 girls played the lying game when they were in school together. So now, as the novel opens, they are grown women. Some of them are married and have children. The lead character, it seems like she's the narrator, I guess. Isa, I guess you'd pronounce her name. She has a new baby, just a few months old. So they're just going about their lives. And one of the women, Kate, sends a text message to the other 3 saying simply, I need you. And apparently they made some sort of pact ahead of time because all 3 women respond, I'm coming. And just immediately get on trains or in cars to go to where Kate lives, which is the town that their old school is in. So that's as far as I've gotten so far, but I am already, it's just so much fun to dive into a thriller because they're so immersive and, the fast pace just keeps you hooked. So it's gripping already. I can't wait to see what happens next, and I'm enjoying it so far. Ruth Ware is always a winner. So this is The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. Now on audio, I'm listening to the same book that I had just started when I did my video last week, A Corner of White by Jacqueline Moriarty. And according to Amazon, this is book 1 in the series, The Colors of Madeline. And I know a lot more about it now than I did when I talked about it last week. So as I said last week, it is fantasy, and I am not always a big fan of fantasy. It depends on how it's done, but this is working for me. So this has two parallel storylines so far. One takes place in the real world, in Cambridge, in the present day, and this is probably why it's working for me. I prefer fantasy that is sort of a real world setting with some elements of fantasy and magic, and that's the way this is set up so far. So in the real world, in Cambridge, there are three teenagers who are being homeschooled together. So they're friends. None of them attend like public school or private school. They've got this homeschooling program that I guess their parents put together. Their parents are a part of it, but so are some of their neighbors and other people in the town. So the kids are Jack, Belle, and Madeline. And the focus is partly on Madeline. She and her mom used to be very wealthy, spent their lives traveling around the world in absolute luxury, Paris, Vienna, just all over the place. But Madeline's father left them and left them without money. So now they are living in like this really rundown apartment in Cambridge. Madeline's worried about her mom because she seems to be having some cognitive problems, some mental issues. So she's worried about her mom. But, she's continuing her homeschool classes with the other kids. Meanwhile, there is another world, and the chapters alternate between the two worlds, called Cello. And there's a town, I'm trying to remember this. The town is called Bonfire. And in that town is a boy named Elliot, who's about the same age as the kids in the real world, and that's what they call it in the novel, in Cambridge. So Elliot lives in this kingdom of cello. He also is living only with his mom right now because recently there was this big mystery when his father and one of the teachers at school disappeared on the same night that Elliot's uncle was found murdered. So there are rumors in town that maybe Elliot's dad was having an affair with the teacher and they ran off after killing his brother, but Elliot doesn't believe any of that. And he is determined to find his father and find out what happened to him. So this is a fantasy world in cello. There is magic. They have these things called colors. Not like my shirt is green colors, but like, it's I can't remember the exact vernacular right now, but like it's a stage 4 yellow day or things like that. And they have, I don't know, some kind of mysterious creatures called purples. So the current theory with the police is that it is purples that killed his uncle and snatched his father and the teacher. Now the purples sometimes there's no sign of injury at the scene of the crime for his dad and the teacher. So there is a possibility that the purples kidnapped them. So Elliot's determined to find his dad, and that's what's going on. But then a crack appears between the worlds, and Madeline and Elliot are able to communicate together. They slip letters to each other. In Madeline's world in Cambridge, it's a little crack in a parking meter where she saw a little bit of white envelope sticking out and pulled it out, and it was a letter. In Elliot's world, it's on a sculpture that one of his classmates made that's outdoors. But it's a crack between worlds, so they're sending letters back and forth. And of course, at first, Madeline doesn't believe anything that Elliot says. She thinks he's some bored kid, who's made up this fantasy world. or played too many video games, maybe. So that's where I am so far. Madeline and Elliot are communicating, and it's great. I'm actually really enjoying it. So I know I had some misgivings because once I started listening and realized it was fantasy, I was like, don't always like fantasy, but it's working for me. I like that it's real world based, and even in cello, it's like our world, but with some minor changes, other than the whole thing about the colors, which I'm looking forward to finding out more about. So that's A Corner of White by Jacqueline Moriarty, book one in the Colors of Madeline. And I'm enjoying it. So that's what I'm reading. What are you reading this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you.